Today is day 14 of the Karen Read trial. I'm going to give you my daily recap. It's after 9 at night and I'm eating my Mother's Day present while I'm filming, so I hope that doesn't annoy anyone. The candy is just so good. Apologies. So, Trooper Yuri Buchanan is still on the stand. He's still in the middle of his cross-examination by Alan Jackson. This has been going on for multiple days. Let's get into it. So, we're talking about the snowplow driver asking if he was investigated. He says he was. Did you know that he saw a Ford Edge in front of the house? And he says, yes, he knew that. Did you take any investigative steps with the Ford Edge to see if anyone at the home owned one? He says no, but he knows that the Albert family does have a Ford Edge, and he did know that at the time. We get into ring footage from 34 Fairview. Are you aware Ring provided the info that Miss Read did not manipulate the Ring camera evidence? That's been a big deal. I think a lot of people think that she has had the access to the Ring footage and she went in and deleted it. But Ring is saying that that wasn't what happened. So I don't know if I'll get any hard evidence that's true, but that's what he's saying. And there was no evidence that she did that. Are you aware that John O'Keefe had the Ring app on his phone and it was opened when it was in state police custody? No. Do you know who opened it? No. It was in a report it was actually a report that Buchanan wrote, and it was Michael Proctor who had gone into the Ring app. Now we start to get into some big questions. Were you aware that Proctor swore under oath in multiple affidavits that the vehicle was seized at 5:30 p.m.? This is Karen Read's vehicle in Dighton. And it was actually seized at 4:12 p.m. He says, oh yeah, there was a discrepancy in time there, but this is something that the whole case was based on. And he said you were not aware of this as his supervisor until the defense found the video. This was the video from Mr. Read's home that showed, no, it was actually 5:30 p.m. And he says no. Now we get into some of the group texts, the ones that he was disciplined for, and it's all of the group texts he starts reading, and we heard them all the first trial. We're gonna get them again. Last time Proctor read the text message, this time it is Attorney Jackson. The first one that is they're not displayed actually, he's just reading them out loud. It says, going through his R-word client's phone. He's referring to David Yannetti because one of the other people, I think it might have been DeChico, on the group text had sent a screenshot. I can't believe I'm not showing you guys a screenshot. This was the screenshot that was sent by one of the other officers. It is an old picture of David Yannetti. And then we have from Michael Proctor going through he uses the R-word, client's phone, no nudes so far. We also learned that Buchanan liked this. Do you think that this text about Miss Read was written with integrity, is asked by Jackson? No. Do you think this text is written with honor? No. So he's basically alluding to the fact that on Friday he said that his investigation was done with integrity and honor despite blah, 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 blah. So do you think that these texts were written with that? And he says no to both of them. Let's just look at how cute these pineapple candies are. They're so good. We hear a little bit about Buchanan's review of Proctor. He's his boss, so he does a 90-day review. And he said, Proctor performed with the utmost professionalism, competence, and strict integrity. Does not look good. Court takes a break for the morning, and then they come back with a few questions about interviewing Chris and Julie Albert at their house. So good. Jackson wants to know if Buchanan was concerned at all with the relationship that Proctor had with Chris and Julie Albert. Did you ask about it? And he says that, yes, he stated that he knows them from around town, but he knows of them mostly. Did that cause concern? He said a little bit. He asked for follow-up. He asked, do you hang out with them? And he said no. Then they end up doing a voir dire. So the jury leaves, and without the presence of the jury, they start asking some questions, and I skipped through this part, but I know that it was brought up about the girls in Aruba, and there are some other motions that the judge is thinking about. So once she rules on those, then I'll talk about those in the recap. Now we get into some really good stuff because this is evidence that we haven't seen in the first trial, and we have the video surveillance evidence being brought in by the defense, and it is of a vehicle being driven into Canton PD, and it's a Jeep, a two-door Jeep that has a plow attached to the front. This is at 1:30 in the morning on January 29th, and you can see an object, a person that's right here. It's snowing, so it's really hard to see. And the person, Buchanan identifies this person as Brian Higgins, and we see a few different camera angles. Here he is walking inside. There's another camera angle. They have these all labeled too, but this is, around 1:26 a.m. The next camera angle is actually Brian Higgins coming inside to Canton PD, and he's wearing the same sweatshirt that he was wearing at the waterfall. And he is inside until, I believe, 1:29. Did I write that down? I'm actually not sure. And then they start watching a longer video clip. I'm sorry, it must be the candy, but I'm jumping around a little bit. There's one more here of him on the phone, and this is at 1:34 and 53 seconds with his phone appearing to be lit up next to his face. This is when the defense is alleging that he was butt dialing Brian Albert. Now we see the other angle, and this is when there's one car moved. So Brian Higgins, in his testimony last trial that the jury does not know about, said that he came to Canton PD to do some administrative work, and he was here to move cars around because of the snowstorm. It appears that these are personal vehicles. He goes inside a few different vehicles. He grabs a duffel bag from one of the vehicles. I've read somewhere online that it was actually a paramedic vehicle, it looked like, and he was grabbing paramedic equipment. You could take a deep dive on that on your own. But we never figure out what he is grabbing or what he is doing. He's there at Canton PD for a total of like 14 minutes. Alan Jackson wants to know if him and Higgins have a personal relationship, and he says no. Is he aware of the status of the phone that Brian Higgins has? And he says no, but we know that the phone was destroyed. That was brought out in the last trial. Jury doesn't know that yet. We get into some of the Sallyport footage next from Canton PD inside. Jackson wants to start questioning, but there's an objection, and then the jury goes to lunch. And I messed up totally, but this is now when we have the voir dire. It must be the candy. So this is questioning of the witness without the jury present, and the Buchanan is being questioned about his knowledge of the relationship of the Albert and Proctor family, and he says that a bunch of stuff, but he didn't know any of this. We kind of learn about, like, he found out because of the harassment, but once the judge rules on those motions, I will put that in the recap. Now back to the interior Sallyport video. This is the mirrored video. This was the evidence that we had in the first trial. And we are identifying Michael Proctor. He was in this back portion over here, which, because this video is mirrored and the jury hears a lot about that, we learn is the right side, so the passenger rear side of her vehicle. Jackson points out that in the first trial, you said that this was an accurate portrayal of this video and of what was happening. And he says yes, but he points out that there are people that appear and it looks like magic, really. It's honestly, it's like the video is like chopped up, and they say that it's because it's motion activated and also it's mirrored. So that's not an accurate portrayal. And then we have, boom, the mirrored image. This is what the camera captured. This is the way the car came in. That's the driver's side door. That's how it should be. Buchanan finally agrees that it was Michael Proctor who walked to the right taillight of the vehicle. You'll agree that Michael Proctor was there in the Sallyport before any taillight pieces were found at 34 Fairview. The first pieces were found at 5:45 p.m. He does some weird tiptoeing around the question, but Buchanan agrees that Canton PD is a 3 to 4 minute drive from 34 Fairview, and it was, yes, before they found any pieces. We're going to get into the redirect from Hank Brennan, so I'm going to have you guys go to part 2.